What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time we return once again with Chaney of Entheos. Always great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Before this interview, I was like, how many interviews have I done with Alex over the years? And it's been like, we did one in New York, we did one at NAMM, we've done them over the internet.
Yeah, I think this is our fifth. It's our fifth.
Friends. Yeah, it's our fifth. So we always have stuff to talk about because we like know each other, you know? So I very much enjoy doing interviews with you.
Yep, I love it. I love it because the only thing is there's times where I do like interviews with people I've talked to for a while, and then we spend like the whole time slot like shooting the shit, and then it's like, oh crap, we only have 10 minutes to actually do the interview. But that's always
I know. It's like I forgot that people actually want to know things about you. You know?
Right. Careful what you wish for, right?
Podcast too. Yeah, exactly.
But it's so awesome. As per usual, thank you for music. Just thank you for the music you've given us, because this new EP and End to Everything continues to remind me what attracted me to Entheos from the very beginning. You know, I could legally gatekeep you guys now because I've been following from the beginning, but
legal gatekeeping. I like that.
But was this intended to be kind of like an outro or a sequel or like a trailer of what we're gonna get in a post Time Will Take Us All universe, or is this like its own standout sort of thing?
You know, what it was just meant to be was a continuation of Naveen and I writing music and being kind of like hot off the tails of Time Will Take Us All. And it was really meant to be like our chance to go and have something fully produced by Mark Lewis to see if that's what we wanted to do with the next album. And we had a lot of things in mind for the EP. Like we knew that we wanted to do this like waterfall release thing, as they call it in the industry, which you roll out like singles essentially all throughout a year. They all have visual accompaniments. So we knew we wanted to do these things. I just think that like with Naveen and I writing things, everything is going to be a natural progression of the last thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not Time Will Take Us All, the progression, but it is Chaney and Naveen progressing as songwriters. So of course that's what it becomes naturally. Mm-hmm. But it did, you know, I think it's a lot more like single focused than most of the things that we do. And that is definitely something that we are going to carry into our next album, which we're literally scheduling time for right now. So yeah, it's going to come very quick. And Naveen and I, we just want to keep becoming better songwriters, and this was an exercise in becoming better songwriters.
I've always wanted to ask you, because you and Naveen are like, it's such a match made in heaven or hell, whatever's more metal, but like but I really just love watching you two collaborate, whether it be your podcast that you do or just you writing music together. You both have your individual talents. You have a voice like no other, and Naveen has a drum technique that I've never seen before. When it comes to writing, are both of you really in the same creative headspace? Does that even happen, or are you really combining all of your different emotions and your different experiences into one, and that's what it is?
Mm-hmm. So I think that, you know, over time we get more and more into the same headspace, and that's what we're seeing happen on the EP. I think that more than like creatively being at the same place, we're at a place where we know we have a vision for what we're doing. So we are in the same headspace as far as that goes. Are his emotions coming from exactly the same place as mine? No, we go through different things. He's not thinking of things as a lyricist, whereas I think of everything as a lyricist. That's like, you know, that's like my biggest strength and my greatest weakness, I would say, because lyrics take me so long. But so we match up in this space where he knows how to write the kind of music that I want to sing over and the kind of music that suits my voice. So, like I said, like emotionally, I don't know if we're coming from the same exact place. We're both kind of angry and we both like playing metal, so we're coming from that place. But more than anything, it's like us both channeling all of those things to make what works best for the group. And that's like, to me, what's beautiful about bands, because you can see like Entheos sounds a lot different than Naveen's other project that he does with one other person called Flesh Rot. You know, Flesh Rot is like what it sounds like when Johnny, Davey, and Naveen Copperweiss get together, and Entheos is Chaney Crab and Naveen Copperwise together. So we're just like learning to do that in a better way more and more forever over time. And of course, because we live together and are together 24 hours a day, those things tend to align really well. And like I'm with him in the studio because the studio's in our house where we demo stuff. Like I'm sitting with him and telling him if I think that a part goes well with our music or fits or not. So we really work together closely in that way as well.
Your vocal technique is, again, like I love watching like your reels and like your playthroughs. Like you have like, again, like a visual that goes along with the voice. And I just had a conversation with Vicky from Agonists and Sixth Sense right before you.
I love it. Yeah.
Yep, she sends her regards. And we were talking about there's vocal technique. There's a lot of technique you have to focus on, taking care of your voice, making sure, but you also need to be convincing. Again, your lyrics are very thought-provoking. You channel a lot of energy and a lot of emotion into it. Do you find that sometimes the technical requirements and the emotional necessities tend to butt heads in a way where like you want to express something but it doesn't match the technique, or maybe your technique could sometimes prevent you from expressing this sort of side that you want, if you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I don't have that problem, and I think that it working with a producer like Mark, who we've worked with on the last two things now, really helps like bring out those emotional elements, because Mark is he doesn't give a fuck about vocal technique. He cares about emotion, the emotional element behind the vocals. So yes, I am a very technique-driven vocalist, but when it comes to like portraying those emotions, if I'm in the studio and something has perfect technique but is not portraying those emotions, then we're doing another take. And Mark is the kind of producer who he's like, dude, I don't care that you just did the most like guttural, slamming, whatever, perfect technique, tunnel throat, whatever the fuck. He's like, I want it to be convincing. Let's get like a witchy, like crackly vocal out of this. You know, it's like, and I think that it's helpful to have like a third party or a second party in there to help people like me and Naveen, who are both very like, we want to make ourselves, I want to do all this stuff to make myself look like the sickest musician ever. You know, you can't always think of things in that way. Like, I have to show everyone that I want to do the highest high possible. That type of shit doesn't really matter when it comes to like evoking emotions and having your emotions evoked. Because even when I hear that stuff replayed, I'm like, this isn't like conveying of that emotional element that I want to portray. So having someone like him there really helps like overcome that if it ever were to become an obstacle.
Mm-hmm. And also, because I've not only seen you play, like, oh, you good? But I've also seen you play, like, in a variety of different settings as well. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen you play at Irving Plaza multiple times, on Summer Slaughter, most recently with As I Lay Dying, but I've also seen you play at St. Vitus, where I was literally sitting on the stage watching you all play. Which was awesome. So, like, I've seen you play in a variety of different settings, too. Does the Entheos experience, for me, it's a different Entheos experience depending on the setting I've seen you in. It's equally as amazing, but it's different. For you, is it different depending as well?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, the St. Vitus type stage, that is what myself and probably most metal people grew up playing. We're, like, from a very DIY place. So when you put us into a place that has like all of a sudden a barricade 6 feet away from the stage, and you can't like touch people even reaching out to them from stage, and you have to kind of deliver things in a different way, to like a big festival stage where like minimal movement has big impact on a festival stage. So dude, it's so different to play any of these kind of venues. It's even different to play like different bar venues. You're getting used to a different thing every single day. But metal isn't naturally from like an Irving Plaza. I mean, Irving Plaza is like a mid-sized room, I would say, but
1,100 cap,
not,
I think.
Yeah, that's not like where we all came from. We came from fucking 11 cap rooms, you know, where it's like you feel the energy very close. So over the years, And the more that you play these kind of places, you get used to it and you know how to like operate on different stages. But I'll even see it in friends of mine who like come from the underground and all of a sudden they're playing a House of Blues stage and they're kind of like, what do I do with all this room? Like, you know, you have to like, you have to figure different things out. It's just a learning process. Yeah.
You remember the Kingsland in Brooklyn. Rest in peace to that venue. But I saw Bad Omens play there right before the lockdown happened, and I'm talking. This is a minimum. I think it's a 70 cap room, and now look where they fucking are. So
yeah, no shit. Now they can't play that.
Yeah, right. They can. It would just be a tragedy waiting to happen.
Yeah, that would be a cool music video for sure.
100%. There is something too, like I've noticed with Entheos, and that is the flow. Whenever, for instance, I always have to listen to The Interior Wilderness right after I listen to In Purgatory, and I always have to listen to Oblivion right afterwards. Like, and I always get lost. And then, but then to hear A Time Will Take Us All song, and then follow it up with White Noise or a Dark Future song, and then maybe bring a song from this EP. Does the narrative or the meaning change depending on how you structure your set list and in the order of the songs you play?
I think that the narrative or the meaning of the songs changes just based on my emotions for the day, rather than the order that it's played in. I resonate with things differently all the time. I know why I wrote things and I know what I was thinking when they happened, but life changes the way that you look at things. And there are even parts of lyrics where I can't say that I 100% knew the intent behind writing them at the moment that I did it, but 5 years later I'll listen to them and I'll just get chills and I'll be like, oh my God, that's why I wrote that. Because I was like speaking to myself 5 years from when I did that. And on different nights just playing on stage, like this whole EP, I wrote a lot about my friend Jesse, who passed away. And some nights I can be on stage and I'm thinking about like what I'm gonna eat after I get off stage, but some nights that I'll just like be on stage thinking about, I caught myself on this last As I Lay Dying tour, like I would just think about Jesse and I would almost bring myself to tears, not purposefully, but just because it entered my mind that day. And so, yeah, it's not the order or anything like that. It really has more to do with my mindset, my current mindset.
You led me perfectly into what I wanted to ask you too, because you've tackled so many subject matters with your music. There's stuff that's very much in the future. There's stuff looking back. There's stuff that focuses very much on the now. There's stuff that's very personal. Does it resonate with you differently depending on what you're singing about? If it's more from a personal place of loss versus something that's very conceptually driven, does it feel like you have to channel a different technique or maybe put yourself in different shoes depending on what you're singing about?
I never feel like I have to put myself in different shoes, but it definitely does channel different things. Like I said, when I listen to these songs, I'm thinking of Jesse. When I listen to Time Will Take Us All, I think a lot about the accident that I got into because that's what I was going through at the time. And there are certain lyrics from Time Will Take Us All that I like went back and listened to it this year because I haven't jammed it in a while. And there's a part in Oblivion, a song that you just brought up, and I'm really, really proud of this line. And it just, every time I can't stop myself from crying every time I hear it. And the line is, I've been wondering where the time has gone. It wasn't ours all along. And I just got chills, like even saying that, just because that line, it just resonates with me. And every year as time goes by, I'm just like, where has the time gone? Like, what? And that's something that I think is going to affect me over my life, just because we see like so many things change on a daily basis.
You could say that again.
Time slips away so quickly. And that line, I know that I wrote it in a time of like desperation of trying to get out of this depression that I was in. But now I look at it, or just, the last time I listened to it, I looked at it like, I just need to share it. Like, I need to live in the moment more because time slips away. Like, it's so fleeting. It moves by so fucking quickly. And I don't even know. I can't wrap my head around that. I still can't.
So,
And
I've only
yeah.
I've only asked one other band this. Another band who I've had the privilege of befriending from doing interviews. On to Others, love that band, and they sing a lot about time. Like they have a lot of songs with time as their subject matter. And I'm noticing you mentioned time too. So it seems like time is we talked about zombie apocalypses and the end of the world and war and unrest and all this. It seems like time is the real philosophical subject matter. And one of
Yeah.
my theories is I've had artists that I've looked up to, Lacuna Coil, Disturbed, a lot, Kill Switch, a lot of bands I grew up liking, but they were in a different generation than me. I don't want to assume anybody's age, but like with a lot of the bands I've interviewed, you, Onto Others, Lorna Shore, a lot of these bands, these are people around our age bracket. So like not only am I having the honor of talking about your music, but like we are in a way growing in this scene together and loving this, witnessing the music. Do you think that time is just a subject matter of all of us just growing up in this now and like looking back? Like I look back at our interview when Dark Future was still brand new. And I look back at that like that was 6 years ago, over
Right.
6 years ago. And
Huh.
it just moved so quickly. And look
Yeah.
how much things have changed from Lorna Shore to Rings of Saturn, how much they've changed. So
Right. I think that time is one of those things that every single person has in common. I can't speak to as to whether it's, a part of this generation or, if other people worried about it as much. But I do think that one of the big things and shifts in our generation is that we treasure a lot of things, and we do try to like channel this living in the moment type. It is kind of neo spiritual type thing. I noticed that in many of my friends. And I think that maybe we're just becoming more and more aware of this fact that time is our greatest gift, but it's also the thing that is that hurts us the most. It's the thing that works against us the most, and it could be our generation. It could be a whole cultural awakening of just people trying to cherish that time and not get too focused on other things. And I enjoy that because I do see like, people of maybe my parents' generation and stuff, they get very caught up in things that I don't particularly care very much about, that I think are like mundane, kind of like just human things that I don't want to say anything like too, I don't want to like point to anything in particular, but it's very like focused on, all right, how much money are we making? Do you have a job? Like, what, all of these things that I think are like very day-to-day things. Whereas what I believe is that we should be focusing more on like, are you happy?
yeah.
Are you making money?
And I just want to warn everybody too. Our children are going to think that what we do is stupid.
Absolutely.
It's a given. They're going to look and be like, "Mommy, why were you screaming in that microphone so much? And what is this dark
Yeah.
future?" Like, you're not going to be able. Everybody's going to have different perspectives on things. So,
Absolutely. I agree with that. And it's not particularly that I think that that these things that people focus on are stupid. I think that it's a part of being a human in a materialistic society. My whole personal goal is kind of to like not give in to that sense of living in this materialistic world. Don't get me wrong. I have a house and I like stuff, and but I don't let any of this shit control me. And I guess that goes back to the time thing. I try not to get too caught up in things that I think are a waste of the precious time that I have in this world.
yeah.
And maybe it was because I studied a bit of philosophy. Maybe it's because I am so like, I don't want to say scared of death, but I don't want it to come. And maybe that's why I focus on time so much, because I'm so happy and I feel so blessed by the life that I have and the friends that I have and all of these cool things that I get to wake up every day and do, go outside and drink coffee in my backyard, like these very small things. And I am so, I'm just terrified of losing that. And time is the only thing that's going to take any of that away from me.
You know what I think it is? So, again, 6 years ago when you and I first met, a lot has changed since then. I interviewed you in March of 2018. I remember those dates very vividly. Okay, so we and I was seeing you. I saw you on that Rings of Saturn show. Then I saw you with Rivers of Nile and Summer Slaughter and all that. So a lot has changed between that. Then the pandemic happens, where none of us are seeing anybody, and then we get back into it. So we spend all this time. We're going to shows. We're loving this. Then God knows where the world was going to go, and then we come back to it. We're already older, regardless if that happened or not. So, but we don't see each other. So the first time we're seeing each other, we didn't really get to see us grow old. It is we saw each other. We didn't see each other. Now we're back in this. And we're all completely different individuals. I have very different aspirations and very different goals and very different ideas than what I had back then. And so, I think we realize just how quick time moves on and how merciless it is with how quick it can move.
Absolutely. And I think that, having so many things stripped away from us showed a lot of us that we were taking things for granted before that happened. Especially in our world. My whole life has consisted of music since I was fucking 12 years old. I've gone to shows all the time. I've relied on having a local scene and being around all of these people and having other artists to feed off of. And yes, we had our computers, we could speak over Zoom, but I realized during the pandemic how much I hate doing that as the sole means of communication with all of the people that I know, because that was almost, I don't know if you had this experience, but when the pandemic started and I started doing birthday parties with my friends on Zoom and stuff, it's half the time of those 4-hour Zoom calls, we were just kind of sitting blankly in the room together, haha. It's not the same as speaking one-on-one.
A hug. Just hugging somebody, I don't think people understand that is something that is. I've never been happier to be pushed up against the subway door than when we
yeah, it's I'm back, baby, I'm back.
Yeah, just that human touch,
Yeah, totally. And that was what the pandemic was about for me. And when people talk about it now, it's crazy to think that it started almost 5 years ago. I cannot believe that that's the case. And when people talk about it and ask me, how that time was for me, I feel really grateful that the pandemic happened. Dude, it's horrible that people got sick. It's horrible that people passed away from this. It was awful on that plane. If we're speaking of it on a health thing and people losing jobs, that was fucking awful.
Of course.
And I'm not happy about that, obviously. But it did give a lot of us a chance to learn that, like I said, we were taking these things for granted. And when all of these things came back, I noticed the first tour that we did back after the pandemic, how happy people were to be at metal shows, because we never, ever could have pictured a world in which this basic thing that we all love so much could have been stripped away from us. And then when it does get stripped away, you feel this sense of powerlessness. You're oh my God, that can go away too. The one thing that I've turned to since I was a child to express all of my emotions through and travel with, and all of these cool friends that I've met throughout the world, all of that can go away. The one thing that I thought could never, ever end. So coming back from that, it was just there was a cultural movement of not taking this for granted anymore.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm grateful.
Time will, in fact, take us all. I mean, I don't think you've had a more accurate title of just life than with that one. So,
thank you. I was really proud when that one hit me. I was got it.
If I had to, I would have, if I had to get a gangster Tupac tattoo, it would probably be that. So.
Look at that. Time will take us all right there.
Oh, you beat me to it. Yep.
And we're reminder,
Ink, and we are Ink cousins, technically. Shout out to
we are.
Shout out to Matta. So
I know she moved to Richmond and I need to go get my piece finished.
Yeah.
So that's next on my list.
We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
So before they actually are having a convention this weekend. Yeah, before we go, I want to thank you as always for your time and always for a conversation that enlightens and inspires me greatly. I am going to go right to painting right after that. This is right after we hang up the Zoom. Just with this new EP coming out, what else could we be expecting from Entheos in the near future? Could we be expecting the new album for 2025 or?
I believe so. That's how it's looking. We're literally talking. We're gonna go start tracking probably next month or the month after. So it was 5 years between the infinite or dark future and Time Will Take Us All. That is never going to happen again. Naveen and I are obsessed with writing music. So yeah, dude, it's coming. It's coming in 2025, and I can't wait.
I cannot wait. Thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Chaney of Entheos. Be sure to check out Time Will Take Us All if you haven't already, and check out their new EP coming out October 25th, An End to Everything. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Alex.